Sup guys, Xanderson 977 here today to do JoJo's Bizarre Adventure episode 18 review. Now, in this week's episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, right, we see that they reach Saudi Arabia. We get the explanation of how they reached Saudi Arabia. They were wanting to avoid the politically unstable countries of Iraq and Iran, so they went around and then end up in Saudi Arabia, which we know that their ultimate goal is Egypt, and at this point they're not very far from Egypt, actually making good progress. So we know Dio and the stand users will attack again, but this week's stand user was a very unique stand user, and his ability also was a kind of trickster thing behind it, as we all know now. Well, Jotaro's grandfather bought that car, and it was a bunch of pretty funny scenes of him using the car. I mean, him buying that car. We were all surprised that he was buying it in the first place. Then we see the explanation that he's buying it so that he could then trade it for the camels for them to travel in the desert, and then from there take a little mini airplane, I guess, to fly to Egypt, which should save them a lot of time in reaching their destination, which is definitely true and it makes a lot of sense. So Jotaro's grandfather Jonathan, he's doing all these tricks and gimmicks to try to get the camel to ride it and this and that, and one big commotion, and he's there making a fool of himself. They ultimately, all of them actually end up getting on the camels, and they begin to set out into the desert. And then one thing leads to the next. Jonathan realizes what time it is, and he realizes that it's actually 8 p.m. And when he said that it's 8 p.m. and then the sun just began glaring down at them, the sun didn't look like a normal sun. The sun looked very, how do you put it, very out of the ordinary in even its typical shape, how it normally looks, everything, the heat it was giving off, everything, and the sun is there boiling down on them. They're there puzzled why at night the sun is still up. But another hint that they should have noticed that the sun is really artificial, or we figured it out towards the end, but for the whole duration while the sun was up, during normal daytime the sky is actually blue. And there's a scientific reason for that, that being the fact that when the sun is up during the day, the dust particles in the air actually reflect light rays at a certain wavelength that causes it for the whole sky to appear blue. That's a little science info for you guys. So in this week's episode, the sky wasn't necessarily blue, it was actually darker color, like almost black, as though you would expect night to be, not as black as night where you can see the stars, etc., but it was pretty dark as opposed to normal. So that tells you that the location of this sun is not where the sun typically is, not in terms of the size and the distance. So it's not the same circumstances. So they should have seen that this sun is actually an artificial sun, and they are encountered by a stand user, but they figured it out. And push come to shove, Kakovin was trying to use his stand to go up there and attack the Emerald Plus, but just at the moment of him attacking, the sun itself let out his beams of light and attacked them. That started to melt everything, and Kakovin himself got injured. Jotaro jumped in at the last second and decided to use Star Platinum to punch a deep hole into the ground for them to use that as cover. And upon them covering in the ground, using the ground as cover for quite a long while, couple of minutes at least, quite a long while it seemed, we just all of a sudden begin to see Kakirin laughing. And then we probably get the impression that this dude, he's gone nuts because he's been in the heat so long. And then all of a sudden we see Jotaro start laughing and Punner start laughing, and the only one that's there wondering what the hell is going on, and who's saying to himself, whoa, everyone gone nuts, is Jonathan himself. So he's there left with ordeal, and he's there saying to himself, what the hell is this, everyone gone nuts, he has to do something. And then all of a sudden Kakovin says it's not what you think, and he explains to Jonathan that look at the rock over there. There's an exact replica of a rock on the opposite side, meaning that there's a mirror. But Jonathan didn't necessarily get it at the same time, so Jotaro used his stand, Star Platinum, to throw and fling a rock through the mirror, and upon doing that, Stan user got knocked out, Stan disappeared, everything went back to normal. We were back in nighttime. So, that to me, this Stan user, it seems like it was, all powerful, overbearing, but it turns out to actually be very underwhelming. And this guy, to increase the effectiveness of his stand and to hide himself from them, he uses a mirror while his stand is there. So yes, he's actually, as they said, very close by to them, using this mirror. And in using this mirror, he has air conditioning, water, he has everything he needs. So this guy, he came well prepared, but they easily disposed of him. So overall, I would say the stand user was pretty simple. It was pretty straightforward for them to get around this dude, to beat this dude, and to move on to the next area. So overall, I thought it was a very good episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, because at the beginning we are having these impressions or impulsions about this stand user of him being over, all powerful. We don't know where he is. All kind of thoughts came running into their mind that he could be like the lover stand at a very big distance, and we don't know where he is. We don't know what to do. They're like merciless at the mercy of this stand user. But it turns out that this dude was very underwhelming. So that's it. That's my review. Remember to rate, comment, subscribe. Sayonara.